Welcome to the Real Crime Diary, Daily Dose of Crime. I'm Sean Dupree, and today we're diving into a case that sent shockwaves through the music industry and left an entire community reeling. What happens when jealousy and greed lead to a brazen execution in broad daylight? That's exactly what unfolded on a seemingly normal November day in Memphis, when renowned rapper young Dolph stopped at his favorite cookie shop, completely unaware that it would be his final visit. Young Dolph, born Adolph Robert Thornton Jr., was more than just a rapper. He was a beacon of hope in Memphis, Tennessee. Known for his authentic lyrics and entrepreneurial spirit, Dolph had built an empire from the ground up, consistently giving back to his community through various charity initiatives and mentorship programs. His independent record label, Paper Route Empire, became a symbol of success and self-reliance in the hip-hop industry. On November 17th, 2021, Dolph was doing what he'd done countless times before, visiting Makeda's homemade butter cookies on Airways Boulevard, a local business he frequently supported. The shop, a beloved Memphis institution, was known not just for its treats, but as a place where Dolph would often stop to connect with fans and support local business owners. It was around 12:30 in the afternoon, with the shop bustling with its usual midday activities. What began as a routine visit to pick up cookies turned into a scene of unimaginable violence. In broad daylight, with witnesses present and security cameras rolling, assassins approached the shop. The audacity of the attack, targeting such a prominent figure in such a public setting, highlighted a disturbing level of premeditation and disregard for human life. But what could drive someone to commit such a calculated act of violence against a man who had become a symbol of success and community leadership in Memphis? The investigation moved swiftly as Memphis Police Department pieced together crucial evidence from the crime scene. Surveillance footage revealed two men pulling up to Makeda's in a white Mercedes-Benz, a vehicle that would become a key piece of the puzzle. The shooters, captured clearly on camera, fled the scene in the same vehicle, leaving behind a trail of evidence that would ultimately lead to their downfall. 3 days after the shooting, investigators recovered the getaway car, a white Mercedes-Benz matching the one from the surveillance footage, abandoned in the Orange Mound neighborhood of Memphis. This discovery marked a significant breakthrough in the case, but perhaps even more telling was what happened in the days following the murder. Justin Johnson, instead of laying low, took to social media, flaunting his lifestyle and even performing music videos in which he appeared to reference the shooting. Law enforcement's big break came when they identified Justin Johnson as one of the suspects through a combination of surveillance footage, witness statements, and his own social media activity. As they dug deeper, they uncovered connections between Johnson and Cornelius Smith, leading to a nationwide manhunt. U.S. Marshals announced a $15,000 reward for information leading to Johnson's arrest, but it was old-fashioned police work that ultimately led to his capture in Indiana. The arrests came in quick succession, first Smith, then Johnson. But what truly stunned investigators was the apparent motive emerging from their investigation. This wasn't just a random act of violence. Evidence suggested this was a calculated hit motivated by jealousy and a desperate grab for street credibility. The question that haunted investigators wasn't just who did it, but how could someone target a figure who had done so much for their community? The 4-day murder trial that unfolded in September delivered shocking revelations that held the courtroom spellbound. In a stunning turn of events, Cornelius Smith took the stand and admitted to his role in young Dolph's murder, providing a first-hand account that left no room for doubt about what transpired that fateful November day. Smith's testimony painted a chilling picture of premeditation. He detailed how he and Justin Johnson had planned the attack, tracking young Dolph's movements and waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The collaborative nature of their plot became crystal clear as Smith described their roles, a testimony that would prove devastating to Johnson's defense. One of the most controversial aspects of the trial came when prosecutors presented graphic crime scene photos. Johnson's defense team strongly objected, arguing that these images would unfairly prejudice the jury. But Judge Jennifer Mitchell ruled them admissible, determining their evidentiary value outweighed any potential prejudice. This decision would later become a focal point in Johnson's appeal for a new trial. The prosecution methodically built their case, presenting surveillance footage, forensic evidence, and witness testimony that corroborated Smith's account. What emerged was a picture of a calculated execution, not a crime of passion or opportunity, but a carefully orchestrated murder carried out in broad daylight. The jury watched intently as prosecutors demonstrated how the suspects had planned their approach, positioned themselves strategically, and executed their plan with chilling efficiency. Throughout the proceedings, Johnson maintained his innocence, but the weight of evidence told a different story. The prosecution's presentation of cell phone records, social media posts, and physical evidence created an overwhelming case that the jury couldn't ignore. After 4 days of testimony and deliberation, they reached their verdict: guilty on all counts, including first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, and being a convicted felon in possession of a handgun. In a decisive moment for the young Dolph murder case, Justin Johnson faced Judge Jennifer Mitchell for his final sentencing. The gravity of his crimes earned him substantial additional time behind bars: 35 years for conspiracy to commit first-degree murder and 15 years for being a convicted felon in possession of a handgun. These sentences will run concurrent to the life sentence he's already serving for first-degree murder. Judge Mitchell's words cut through the courtroom with stark clarity as she delivered her ruling. "These were crimes committed in our community in the middle of the day, in broad daylight with other people around, for greed," she declared. For greed, money, and fame. Her statement highlighted the brazen nature of the crime that rocked the Memphis community. The sentencing marks another chapter in seeking justice for young Dolph's murder. Even as Johnson faces these additional years, his legal team continues to fight. Just last week, they filed a motion for a new trial, challenging the admission of those graphic crime scene and autopsy photos during the September proceedings. But for now, the sentences stand, a clear message about the consequences of such a calculated act of violence. This latest development ensures that Johnson will spend decades behind bars, adding significant time to his existing life sentence. The judge's decision reflects the severity of the conspiracy charge, acknowledging that this wasn't just a spontaneous act of violence, but a carefully planned execution that took the life of a beloved Memphis figure and traumatized a community. The true impact of young Dolph's murder was powerfully illustrated through his family's heart-wrenching statement to the court. Their words painted a vivid picture of the devastating void left behind on that fateful November day in 2021. What began as a normal day transformed into one that would forever alter the course of their lives. The family's statement revealed the profound ripple effects of this senseless act of violence. Holiday gatherings once filled with joy and laughter were replaced by grief and sadness. Simple pleasures, a phone call, a hug, family trips, shared laughter, were suddenly and violently stripped away, leaving behind memories that now serve as painful reminders of what was lost. Perhaps most heartbreaking was the moment they had to explain to young Dolph's nephew that his father wouldn't be coming home. Yet even in that dark moment, they witnessed an incredible strength in the young boy, a resilience they attributed to both divine grace and the enduring spirit of Dolph himself. The statement highlighted not just their personal loss, but the community's loss as well. Young Dolph wasn't just a successful artist. He was someone who consistently lifted up his community, extending his hand to those in need and inspiring others to reach higher. While his killers acted out of envy and jealousy, Dolph's legacy was built on giving back and creating opportunities for others. The family's words to those responsible were particularly powerful. They addressed the senselessness of the crime, pointing out how the perpetrator's actions, driven by jealousy and cowardice, ultimately cost them far more than they could ever gain. The family's commitment to preserving Dolph's legacy of community service and empowerment stands in stark contrast to the destructive choices that led to his death. This case serves as a sobering reminder of how greed, jealousy, and senseless violence continue to plague our communities. Young Dolph's murder wasn't just an attack on one man. It was an assault on an entire community, robbing them of a leader, a mentor, and a source of inspiration. What makes this case particularly chilling is how it unfolded in broad daylight, at a local business frequented by community members. It shows the brazen nature of the perpetrators and raises serious questions about the escalating violence in the hip-hop community. But perhaps the most important question we should be asking ourselves is, how do we prevent such senseless losses in the future? How do we address the underlying issues of envy and greed that drive individuals to commit such devastating acts? As we've seen through the family's powerful testimony, the ripple effects of violence extend far beyond the immediate victim. They tear at the fabric of families, communities, and society as a whole. If you're as fascinated by true crime cases like this one and want to dive deeper into similar stories, make sure to check out our curated collection of true crime books. You'll find the link in the description below. What are your thoughts on this case? What do you think needs to change to prevent similar tragedies in the future? Join the conversation in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more daily doses of true crime analysis. Until next time, stay safe and stay informed. Hey listeners, welcome back to The Real Crime Diary. I'm your host, Sean Dupree. If you tuned in last time, we had a deep dive into the disturbing history of power abuse across different eras, looking at the connection between dominance, control, and how it plays out even today. We touched on scandals from the past and compared them with some modern-day examples, showing how these patterns of abuse, unfortunately, persist. One of the most insightful tools we've explored to understand this is my book, Power, Pleasure, and Pain, a study of abuse through time. It's not just a historical account, but an interdisciplinary approach to understanding why this keeps happening. We draw from history, philosophy, and modern case studies to explain how figures like Dominique Pellico, Harvey Weinstein, and others have exploited their positions of power for their own gain, often protected by the very systems meant to stop them. Recap of last interaction. In our last live stream, we discussed how libertinism, philosophically introduced by figures like Marquis de Sade, has shaped the way power and pleasure have been entangled throughout history. This concept ties directly into how figures like Weinstein operated, as we saw parallels between de Sade's fictional characters and the way powerful men manipulated their victims in real life. You guys had some amazing comments, asking how societal structures have allowed these behaviors to go unchecked for so long. It's a crucial question, and one that the book addresses deeply. Why this book is valuable. Now, what's powerful about Power, Pleasure, and Pain is its ability to break down these historical patterns and link them to the present. You're not just reading about ancient Rome or Enlightenment philosophy, you're seeing how these ideologies are alive today. The book uncovers how sexual violence and control have been systematically woven into the fabric of societies from ancient times right up to the modern era. It's about understanding not just the individual predators, but the systems that protect them, whether it's in royal courts, religious institutions, or today's corporate and entertainment worlds. Through these historical lenses, we also explore movements like #MeToo that are beginning to dismantle these structures. The fight for justice is far from over, but as the book demonstrates, we are in the midst of a cultural shift where legal reforms are finally addressing these long-standing issues. It's more than a history lesson. It's a guide to understanding and supporting change today. What's next? If you want to dive deeper, I suggest picking up Power, Pleasure, and Pain, a study of abuse through time. It's available now, and trust me, it will change the way you think about power, pleasure, and control. We've even got some exclusive content coming up on the channel where we'll be exploring the book's case studies in even more detail, so stay tuned for that. And if you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe to The Real Crime Diary so you don't miss any updates. Let's keep this conversation going, because understanding the past is key to changing the future.